Let's understand something very profound that the Bible calls spiritual adultery that defiles the earth. I'll explain it soon. The Bible always uses family relationships to illustrate and lead us to understand what kind of relationship God wants to have with us. Yes, family relationships are like a model, a prototype, a metaphor of our relationship with God. It's not by chance that God identifies himself as Father, our Father who is in heaven, and his Son as the Son. So God identifies himself as family. He wants to have a family, and he wants us to treat him as a father. But another family analogy that he frequently uses is of marriage, to illustrate what kind of covenant he wants to have with human beings. How God wants to relate to us. Because what is God searching in us? Loyalty, exclusivity. Just as when we love someone, we want that person for us. We want them to be only for us. Or do you want to share your love, the person you love, with someone else? Do you want to see the person you love in the arms of another person? I doubt. In this world, there are those who may kill. They will kill someone not to see them in the arms of another person, and later they kill themselves. It's an absurdity. But just for you to have an idea how strong is this feeling of exclusivity, of jealousy, of not wanting to see the person you love in the arms of another. God, not in a sick way, but in a healthy way, he wants exclusivity. He's jealous of us, is what the Bible tells us. He does not want to share us with other gods who are fake ones, which is even worse, because people in this world exchange the original for the fake. And what we see in the Bible about this topic, we find it in many parts from Genesis to Revelation, this analogy of the marriage and God. And this is the central message of prophet Jeremiah. If you start reading the book of Jeremiah, he starts speaking about spiritual adultery to explain what the people of God was doing to God. I'll read a few verses from chapter 3. He starts saying, from verse 2 and 3, he says, "Lift up your eyes to the desolate heights and see, where have you not lain with men?" In other words, he was telling people to look at the hills and to point a place where they didn't prostitute themselves with other gods, because people will climb the hills to make altars and to worship other gods. Israel has many mountains, hills, and God is saying, lift up your eyes to the mountains and point a mountain where you didn't betray me. This is strong. It's as if a husband is telling his wife, point an apartment, a flat in our building where you didn't sleep with another man. It's strong, but it's what God said to Israel. By the road you have set for them, like an Arabian, in the wilderness, and you have polluted the land with your harlotries and your wickedness. In other words, God is telling Israel, his wife, you behaved as a harlot in the way, waiting for the first one who would pass. The first proposal of a god, you embraced it. This god is of fertility. I want this god. This one is the god of the rain, of the sun. This one gives you money. Have you seen those shops where they sell religious objects and people buy things to bring them luck? This is what the people were doing, something along these lines. Then God speaks about the consequences of this attitude. Therefore, the showers have been withheld, and there has been no latter rain, the rain of the harvest. You have had a harlot's forehead. You refuse to be ashamed. You're not even ashamed of what you are doing. You don't even realize that the land is dry and you are suffering because of your harlotry, because of your infidelity. Verse 9, it says, "So it came to pass through her casual harlotry that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and trees." Because people will bring stones and trees and would make a doll, an image, and would say, this is God so-and-so. This is the other God. This God is the God of this or that. In other words, they would defile the land through adultery with stones and trees. It's not that different from today. Today you see people betraying God with stones, trees, plaster, metal, paper, plastic. You see people betraying God with objects, calling that object a god, attributing to that object power that someone has created with their own hands. Something created is made greater than the creator. It is hard to understand this. It insults intelligence. But those who are betraying are not using their intelligence. Those who betray God or betray their partner, they are not using their intelligence, but their heart, their feelings, because if they thought, they wouldn't betray. So people betray God with stones, trees, plaster, metal, their idols, that they call them their gods. No, it's not a god. I just worship. Disobeying the commandments that say you won't have them sculptured images, you won't make images for yourself in the likeness of heaven or earth, but they put those images on a pedestal in the car, around their neck, and they attribute that to a god or to their beliefs. But it's not just images of stones and trees. Some place their football team above all and everything. Some would even kill for their football team. They even draw blood because of them. They will spend all their money, sell their house to buy a ticket to see their football team in another country. Yes or no? They have never done this for someone, but for their team, they did. Some even worship their favorite singer, artist, athlete as their idol, and they place this person who they admire in the role of God. Have you seen concerts how people treat their idols? If the singer in the concert, the celebrity, the artist, snap their fingers, the person even leave their husband. The daughter leave the parents' house. They leave their country. They go with that idol. They do everything. They strip them off their clothes. They lose completely a sense of reality to be with that idol. In other words, that idol became their god. Idols of wood, stone, celebrities, idol called mammon, god money, people who treat money as if you were the solution for everything. For them, money is everything. I only trust in money. Money solves everything, and this and that. They give their lives for money. Some would even die. I met people who died because they didn't want to give a watch to the thief. At gunpoint, wanting their watch, and they said, "I won't give it to you." And they were shot in the head because of a watch. Both the thief that kills someone for no reason, right? For a watch, a piece of metal, and as someone else who loses their lives because of a piece of metal. Some place money in the place of God, or family, their mother, it becomes their God, their grandchildren. Some would even die for a politician or an ideology. They go to the internet and they swear, they curse, they do everything on the internet. They give their lives there. They will manifest and protest for an ideology, a politician. They are arrested, and God has to see this every day. God in heaven needs to see every day people exchanging Him for things that are worthless, inferior to Him, and He has to see this spiritual adultery daily. But this spiritual adultery not only hurts in God's heart, but also it hurts in the heart of the one who commits adultery. It's because the person gets used with suffering and they don't realize that the spiritual adultery they are committing is defiling their land. You see your neighborhood, your city, the world defiled, the world with bombs and this and that. You see a beautiful world being defiled that God created with perfection. Don't you see humans destroying the world? You don't see animals doing that, but humans destroying the nature, the seas, the cities they created. Why? Spiritual adultery. Spiritual adultery defiles the land. As the word says, it defiles all. Like one who betrays their partner and defiles the whole family, destroys the whole family. Humans destroy the earth, their family, because they betray God daily. But despite all this, God in His mercy, He says, "Return to me, and I'll be merciful towards you. Return to me." But people pretend to be deaf. I don't know why, but they prefer to insist in their harlotries than being faithful and exclusive to God. If today's video helped you and you know someone that could benefit from it, share it with them, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you may do so now. See you later.